everyone. Welcome to Valley Homes on TV. Todd Flesner here along with Debbie Giordano.
Hi, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing great, Debbie.
Great.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too.
We are in 2015.
Yeah, it's going crazy already.
Yeah, it is. We'll talk a little bit about the market at a different point, but it's a good year, and we're off to a fantastic start already.
We are.
So we're glad that folks have tuned in to us here on Channel 26, and they'll set their DVRs or they can tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 in the afternoon.
6:30.
6:30.
Close. That's
well,
close.
I think you get the cartoons before us, and then
and then Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
So, thanks for tuning in, folks. You have a guest that you.
I do.
today.
I brought a friend of mine, and we've been doing business for many, many years. It's Larry Tringali with Property Inspection Service.
Right.
It's where he's currently wearing his hat, and he's here to talk to us about things that interest a buyer and seller in terms of their house inspection.
Terrific. Well, Larry, we're just delighted to have you here because housing inspections. I mean, that's an integral part of the process of buying a home, and the sellers are involved in that process, I assume, as well. So we're glad that you're here to help educate our viewers.
Sure. Don't mention it.
Well, maybe just sort of tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of your background. Where'd you grow up, and how'd you get into the home inspection business?
Here. Next question. In the city, and in the Italian Catholic section of the city, and when I was in second grade, I got kidnapped by fourth graders. There, you were Italian Catholic or you were public. And the Italian Catholics stuck together and the public stuck together. I got separated from my group, and the publics got me one afternoon, tied me up in the back of a van, and they're only fourth grade. They didn't know what the heck to do with me, but they caught me. They caught me off my guard. So they took me to a moving van and tied me up with the moving van little rope things, that were sort of gentle. And since I was from a Catholic school, they said, "There, we're going to leave you there like your hero." And then they left. And I, didn't know what to do. But everybody had to be home by streetlights. So before the streetlights came on,
I had the same rule in our house.
they came and they tied me. And so when I told my parents, how come you were late? I told them what happened. They go, "That's it, we're out of here." So that was Hunters Point. So we left Hunters Point and went to Palo Alto, and there. It was a little better. It was much nicer.
So schooling background in terms of schooling?
I was president of the student body in Palo Alto, and then I went to St. Mary's and Foothill and San Jose State and Sonoma State.
Okay.
And at some point, a professor came to me and said, 120 units, you can get a degree. Mr. Tringali, you have 140 units. It's time for you to move on. So
Okay.
I know a lot.
So let's talk a little bit about work history. You've had some different careers and things that have kind of led you into where you're at today.
Yeah, mostly I'm a real estate agent. I spent some time in South America and then came back in 75 and got my real estate license in 76 with California Realty. And then that went under when interest rates went way up into the air. And so I went over to Coldwell Banker and retired from there in 91, 92 and went to be a Hisco home warranty guy. And I got to know a lot of people there. At Coldwell Banker, I was also the mentor. When they had new people come in, they'd say, "Go to that office and just learn what he has to say and then go out into the world and have fun." And then as Hisco man, at this home warranty company, I got to share sort of the gifts that I had for that with lots and lots of other people.
That's where we met.
That's where we met when I was running around being the Hisco man.
Yeah.
And then Hisco said, those reps are overrated. We don't really need no more reps. Take a hike. So then the man who owned this company, Property Inspection Service, came along and said, "Larry, what are you doing?" "Nothing. I'm retired." And he goes, "You need to buy this company." I go, "What for?" He goes, "Because he had something else to do. Actually, he was going to go make clean air for Yosemite, clean diesel fuel for Yosemite, and he couldn't do both things." So I told the kids we're going to buy the statue company. In the 70s, there was no such thing. This is a good segue. In the 70s, there was no such thing as a property inspection. You just bought a house, did the termite, and at the end you would walk around the client and say, well, turn the heater on. Yeah, heater works. How about the air conditioning? That works. You go around outside and say, you see any cracks in the foundation? No, me neither. I guess it's okay. So you and the clients walked around and looked at stuff, and that was it. Then this guy, Ben Vitkoff, in 1982 came up with, there needs to be something more organized. So he started this company, Property Inspection Service. And as a logo, he had this little man standing there with a little pencil holder statue, and everywhere I went, there was those little statues on the desk, and my kids spent a lot of time in the office, knew the statues in the statue company, so that's when they realized we couldn't let the statue company die, so we bought it.
Okay. Well, maybe tell us a little bit more. I mean, you gave us a little bit of a sneak peek at what a home inspection is, but why should a buyer or a seller really care about a home inspection?
It's because you're buying the whole house. It's sort of like if you buy a car, you can get the outside looked at, but really, what about the engine? What about the transmission? What all that stuff? And that's what home inspectors do. They crawl into every nook and cranny they can possibly get to. Obviously, inside the walls, a little off our limits. We don't know what's going on in there. But the roof, we will, on a single story, cover the roof and let you know, my company does it for free, do you have an issue there? Then they'll crawl into the attic. Have you had evidence of leaking? What's the electrical system look like up in there? Then every circuit, every outlet, they plug it in to see, is this grounded or not grounded? What about the electrical system? Has someone done something to the house that changed it all around? It's amazing that since I was an agent for a long time, and I thought, you know, I'm going to buy this property thing. I've done on tons of inspections. What could I possibly learn? It's the old adage. When we got there, they were doing many inspections for new homes, and I thought, why would you do an inspection for a new home? Till I saw some of them. It came back with lists and lists of things that after the home was built, they sent the guy out there. He went through and said, okay, clean bill of health, go ahead and move in. Before they moved in, we went in and said, it's almost a clean bill of health, but you still got many, many issues. The guy didn't crawl into the attic. He didn't notice this one little thing not hooked up correctly underneath the place.
Okay. So you've described some of the components, typical ones. So let's go back. Let's look specifically. Let's talk about the roof.
The roof, a roof. The main water barrier for a roof is not with shingle, but with shingle, it's just the shingles are there overlapping, and they swell up when they get wet, and that keeps the water from getting in. But it's the tar paper. The tar paper is the water barrier, and the shingles on top of that are just there incidentally. With wood shingles, there is no tar paper. It's just wood. If it was tar paper, it wouldn't dry out in the bottom. But normal roofs now, it's tar paper, and the tar paper would dry out and not be waterproof if it got sun on it. So the shingles you see up on the top, all that is to keep the sun and the elements off of the tar paper. So if it's curled up a little bit, and you think you can see the little black stuff, that could be an issue.
Okay. Then rotted wood.
Rotted wood. Rotted wood is real common, especially on the eaves. Termite companies cover that too. Somewhere you're going to get into what's the difference between you and the termite company. But we all cover anything that is obvious in terms of wood or rotted wood. The eaves, the biggest enemy of wood is water. How do you keep water out? Paint. If you have it painted, it's going to be okay. If the paint is crackly, the water is going to seep in there, and it's still going to look okay, but you go with a little pitchfork or a little screwdriver, you can stick your right through it, and you go, uh-oh. Say, well, it still looks okay. It looks okay, but the wood was there not to look fine. It was there to be a structural support. If someone walks through that area or goes on the edge of the roof, those eaves are just going to crash down. Now you've got a liability issue going.
Well, how about maybe an older property where it was built, a number of years ago, and I know that there are constantly updates to different codes and different standards, like CO detectors and water heaters and the like. How do you deal with that sort of thing?
When the inspectors go out, they know the year that it was built, and they will know that at the time this was built, this was not to code. And many things are essential and should be brought to code. Most things are not, though. At the time this was built, it's safe. How long has this house been here? 50 years. 50 years later, you've never had an issue. You probably don't have to worry about bringing it up to code. That's So we will address it and say, code now says this, but you're doing fine. You're okay.
Okay.
All right.
I sell older homes
Yeah.
in the place area,
Yeah.
but how about the fireplace chimney? How is that
We,
inspected, and what should?
We go to see,
consume?
does it rock and roll? Does it move? If it doesn't move, good. If
So
it does,
does it have reinforced masonry? Is that the issue? Or
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will go up and just gently push on it. And if it's got a crack in it, that gentle push is going to move it and go
Wow.
back off. Get the kids'
So-
little play set underneath there.
That's a
gone
real
somewhere.
safety issue.
That's a real safety
Right.
issue. Yeah. So that's what we do to let you know. But just in terms of general safety for fireplaces too, you should always get, if you can see that they've been using this fireplace, after a few years, creosote will build up. Creosote is sort of this gooey, flammable stuff that will build up in the flume. The fireplace brick isn't what keeps the heat inside. There's a firebox in there. It's metal. And then the metal just doesn't look so good, so they put brick around it. Then that contains all the heat. But up in the chimney, there is no fire box. It's just the brick. If you have little cracks in that brick or in the grouting, sparks or things could get out through there, especially if you had this built up for a long time. Fire's going in there, you're going to have creosote built up. When you ignite this fire hot enough, it's going to ignite that creosote. Now you've got fire in an area that's not surrounded by metal box, and if you have a fire in a house from the fireplace, it wasn't usually that it jumped out from there. It got into that area. So our advice is, if you can see that it's an older home and they've been doing the fireplace, $150, $200, get the chimney sweep up there and clean it
Right,
out.
right.
Start
Good,
fresh.
good idea.
Now, we live in earthquake country. How about things like foundations and shear walls and those sort of things?
Yeah, foundations, they almost always have bolts on the side. And when we look for it, we look to make sure that the foundation's in a reasonable condition. The thing that would keep us from coming into, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself. There's a question I'm hoping you're going to ask. I'll just answer right now.
Okay.
What's the most expensive thing, and this is its foundation, what's the most expensive problem that you find that is preventable? It's foundations. What wrecks a foundation? It's the earth around it. Sometimes you can tell if the earth around it is just settling a lot and it's going to develop cracks, real cracks or superficial cracks. By when you get a house, go into the garage and look at the garage. You can't tell from the sidewalks too much because that wasn't the developer, it was someone else who did it. And the backyard, you can see patios, say, ooh, look at the patios all cracked and wrecked. Who knows who did that? Could have been some handyman who didn't know what he was doing. But the foundation was done by right to code, should have been good. If you walk in, you're thinking of getting a house, and you see that foundation with big cracks in it, now you know, well, it's 50 years old. Okay, it's a quarter inch. Live with it. You can cover it up. The whole house is going to sag. But you're in an area that tells you that the moisture in the soil around that is significant, and that's what's making the cracks. I just had an inspector call me this morning for a reinspection because we did this in July, and we said there's evidence of moisture in there. Now a new buyer's coming in and wants us to do another reinspection, and the guy went down today, said, how'd it look? And he goes, very, very muddy. Why is that? Just because July it was dry, it looked fine. Evidence of moisture was he could just see the water line of where there had been some stuff.
Okay.
Now he went down there, and because it's so moist, it's an issue. That issue could end up in mold, it could end up lots of things, unless they have good ventilation. So the point is, to avoid that, make sure that the ventilation vents around the side aren't covered up with bushes. Another thing is, make sure you don't put plants or something right next to the foundation, because excess water on the perimeter of the foundation, close to the foundation, is the big issue. Nowadays, when they build a house, the foundation doesn't get that water because the gutters go into the downspouts. Downspouts go into some tube underneath the ground, shoots right out, goes away. It's not even there. They've realized that now. But in the olden days, it just plopped right out there. So you can get this little cement thing to shoot it 3 feet away. Sometimes you shoot it 3 feet away, it just shoots right back. So for your house, look at it and see. If you put water on the side of the house and it goes away, fine. If you put water on the side of the house and it stays there, build it up with dirt. Do something. Put some dirt in there, pound it down, have the water get away from the house. And for sure, don't plant those little brick planter boxes and stand with the hose, dumping hose right.
Right.
Woodbury, you don't want the water That's the biggest problem that
Okay.
you can prevent.
Here's another common one, water heaters. Now, I know that there's some safety valves and codes, but how about double strapping, seismic safety? How does that all come into play?
Double strapping, yeah, all of them should be double strapped because the one strap was enough if it was significant. Sometimes you'll see that it's a double strap and it's wrapped all the way around the thing and goes back in, and sometimes it's not. It just covers it, and you think, hey, I'm getting gypped. What the double strapping is to hold it up. But when it circumvents the whole thing, it's because they want it to keep from going forward and back. A better system is put a block of wood in back. You can get a 4x4 or something in back, because this whole thing is saying, okay, you're not going to go forward. Yeah, you don't go forward, but when it rocks the other way, you can go back, crash something, the whole thing's going to blaze.
Okay.
You don't want this to move. 4x4.
Good. Now, how about like electrical? What sort of things should
Electrical. If you go into a house and this house was built in 1950, and all of a sudden you see there's a fan up there and go, I don't believe they had fans in 1950. And you see the air conditioning was added on that they didn't have. You can tell someone's been messing with this stuff. And you say, who did it? Oh, whoever. The seller's always going to say, someone's adequate, it's okay. You don't know what they did. So you need to have us come through, and we will look at obviously we can't look inside the wall, but we can look at the circuit breakers and make sure, do they have adequate coverage for what it's done there?
Okay. So you touched on a subject earlier, the difference between a property inspection and a termite inspection, and why would somebody want to do both?
Because because we will see something and just say, you need to get someone else to look in here and take care of this problem for you because it's dry rot or actual termite evidence. We'll see the evidence. We don't do that. You need to be licensed by the state to handle the chemicals that they handle, and they just, that's their whole bit. They really go into it a lot. So I would never sell a house as an agent to someone without getting the termite guys, do your whole bit, and the property inspection, do your whole bit. Because then you're fully covered. It's there. That's the whole point. You spend a couple $100 to save you thousands later. Why would you pass up on that?
So now the deliverable that you have then as a property inspection, you have a report then that you deliver to
Right.
To who, the seller, the buyer? Who gets that?
Who paid for this report? You pay, you get.
Okay.
So whoever paid for the report, they get a copy of the report the next day. And typically, companies have pictures of anything that was a problem. They have a color picture right there and refer to it in the report. You can also, normally, if you show up at the end of the property inspection, whoever the inspector is, they will walk through and show you. So you don't just see this little thing somewhere underneath the foundation, this little thing, you won't get it. They'll show it to you. See this little thing right here? That's what it is. And you can ask them, how do we take care of that? That was another question. Who does the work?
Right.
Termite companies, they have to do the work because they're licensed. Property inspection companies are not supposed to do the work. It keeps us a little bit...
Conflict of interest, or...
Yeah, so we can't crawl around the house and say, I found $12,000 worth of work, and now you got to pay us to fix it. No, we just, if it's not there,
That's great.
we don't,
That's
it's not
great.
mythical. It's just there, and I've got a list of contractors or handyman that will go out and fix it. If you do use a contractor, they stand on their own merits. If you use a handyman, afterwards, I will send my guys out for free and check to make sure the handyman really did do it properly. So you can get the report. The report says, look at all the stuff that's wrong. Well, you don't want to hand that to the buyer. It looks like the place is falling apart. You got it fixed. My guy will go about, give you a supplement saying, no, all these items are taken care of.
Terrific.
Okay. Well, hey, let folks know how they can get in touch with you if they're interested in a property inspection.
Well, we have a www.propertyinspection.com. That's our domain because Ben was the first one to do it, so he bought that little domain. Or you can call us 1-800-RED-FLAG. That's another thing he did that I
Nice.
1-800-RED-FLAG, and that works. And we cover sort of San Mateo County and Santa Clara County.
Beautiful.
Terrific. So folks know how to get a hold of you. Is there a difference in property inspection companies?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do not need a license at all to be a property inspection company.
I didn't know that.
You can just pop up and say, times are slow, get a little badge. Dan, property inspection, I'm in there, I'm done. No licensing is required. But there is a society, ASHI, that has set of standards so that you have an idea throughout the United States of we should all kind of cover the same things. These are essential to cover, and these are no big deal. Like sprinklers. People don't do sprinklers. alarm systems. We don't do alarm systems.
Okay.
But certain things we all do. And if you do use a company, they for sure need to be a member of one of those companies. There's 2 or 3 companies. The largest one is ASHI, so we are a member of ASHI. And
Okay.
our reports are ASHI standards.
All right, terrific.
That's
Great.
That's a big deal. Good question.
Good question. Larry,
Well-
thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
It really wasn't that busy, but thanks anyhow.
We appreciate it coming out here. And
Well, yeah, we absolutely appreciate you having you on the show and sharing, your wealth of knowledge with our viewers.
It's a great topic,
It
both
is.
buyers
Yeah.
and sellers.
Let's hope
need
they
that
got something
knowledge.
out of it.
I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you very
Terrific.
much, Larry.
Okay.
Lazy bones, loafing through the day. You always seem to find the easy way, moving like you're rolling away. Never heard a word I say.
All over America, entire families are backsliding. We're no longer just sedentary, we're stationary, and that's bad news for your bones. At any age, bones need weight-bearing activity to grow strong and stay strong. So go outside, take the steps, play with the dog. Just get up, get out, get moving.
Never keep your bones that way. Never heard a word I say.
A public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
We served our country like those before us.
The camaraderie is what kept me going. It was a dangerous area. All of Vietnam was dangerous.
I didn't know what to expect when I got back.
For the first 10 years after I got out, no one would have known that I was in the service.
I got home, got married 2 weeks later, got a job.
We came back, built lives, families, and communities, but we still had challenges.
The carnage of war left an indelible mark on me.
I would have intrusive thoughts. They're horrible nightmares.
Services and support that can help are available for veterans.
I went to the VA, talked to my doctor.
I started doing groups. I started doing one-on-one counseling.
We found ways to move past these challenges for ourselves and for our families. At MakeTheConnection.net, you can hear our stories and find tools and services available to you.
The more I talk to people, family, friends, other vets, the better I feel.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Valley Homes on TV. I'm here with Debbie Giordano with Todd Flesner, and we're going to be doing January 2015 market wrap-up. Happy New Year, I guess.
Yeah, Happy New Year. There's been a lot happening in the news with real estate, and I see that you've got some clippings there.
I got some clippings there. Let's start with taking the emotion out of selling your home. Here's 10 quick tips on how you're supposed to do that. Number 1, trust your agent. Number 2, eat well. What does that have to do? Get plenty of sleep. Take time for yourself. Stop looking at your home as yours. So in other words, you got to look at it. You got to detach from it. Talk when you need to. So live in reality. Sellers sometimes also have unrealistic view of how much their home is worth. Take a cooling off period. If an offer's been made, maybe take a little bit time to think about it. You don't have to react too quickly. Be patient with buyers, and there are many, many of those. And then keep your eye on the prize, and that'll keep the emotion out of selling your home. So, California housing market forecast. I thought it was really interesting that the affordability index has really shifted in the state of California. Generally, 2011 it was at 53%. We are now down in 2015, beginning at 27% affordability, and I think we're seeing that with.
So that's the percentage of the population that could go out and afford to buy a new home today.
Right, but it obviously hasn't changed the housing price structure, because last week there are headlines in the San Jose Mercury News is Bay Area home prices surge, and that is the case. I just had an open house this weekend 75 groups through. In fact, you were talking about your clients in Campbell with 150 groups through, and this home sold for $90,000 over the list price. So it's just crazy right now.
It is a hot market. You know, the inventory is limited, and folks with the very low interest rates that we have, we're down to in the all-time low area again. That's made, you know, the
So
affordability index a little bit better.
What do you, let's talk about rates real quick, and then I'll do the housing snapshot.
I'm in the threes. Conforming loans, 3.625.
Oh my gosh.
Jumbo loans, 3.875, up to $1.5 million. With 20% down, you can get a jumbo loan in the threes.
Terrific.
Fixed for 30 years.
Terrific.
It's outstanding.
Great.
So, you know, needless to say, it's busy in my office these days. The phone's ringing, not only with people who want to buy, but refinancing as well. People are having there's a good window of opportunity here for
Well,
folks.
I'm glad you took a minute out to do this show, because they wouldn't be very fun without you. So let's talk about what's going on in the
Yes.
city of Milpitas. Back in November of 2013, we had an average home price in Milpitas of $718,000 and a median price of $650,000, and that has changed to an average price of November 2014 of $802,000 and median price of $792,000. So what's that? That's a good.
That's almost $100,000.
That's a good $100,000, yeah, and that's about what I'm seeing. The condos. In November 2013, we looked at an average price of $471,000 and a median price of $434,000, and that has now changed to an average price of $581,000 and a median price of $582,000. So obviously, economy's up, jobs are up. Milpitas is a great place to work, live, play,
Absolutely.
and own a home.
It is. No, it's, you know, the environment is good. We're seeing, you know, the economy is coming back, and there's more confidence, as you talked about jobs, and we've talked about that issue here on the show before, being, you know, an important part of our local market and our local real estate market. And
Right,
so,
right.
you know, it's a good environment right now.
It's great. And tell folks that we have a title officer coming to do our show next, and we can talk about title and escrow and all those major components of a transaction. So looking forward to interview Eric with Chicago Title.
That'll be good, because that's, you know, we have this whole vocabulary in real estate, and so I'm sure that we'll learn a little bit of vocabulary when we talk with Eric.
So if folks have any questions or any topics you'd like to see on the show, you can email me at giordanodj@aol.com. And Todd, how can folks reach you?
Email tflesner@opusadvisors.com.
Great. We'll see you in a couple weeks.